turn to that, how to scrutinize each of the journals that from your shortlist. So the most important section that you should you should read with a lot of attention is the aims and scope section, because it has been found that the most important reason for desk rejection, I think all of you know what is a desk rejection. Desk rejection means the editor sees your submission and the editor decides that that is not even worthy of peer review. There is not even a need to send that a particular article to reviewers, and they reject it because the most common reason for that is that particular article is not within the scope of that particular journal. For example, the journal that I edit, our focus is mainly on clinical topics, psychiatric topics, even from clinical psychology topics and all. But many a time we get submissions from core psychology topics, studies on perception, affect, and all. That won't be of interest to our readers, so we discourage such articles. So that leads to a lot of wasted time and effort for both the editors and also the authors themselves. So better you read and ensure that read the aims and scope section and ensure that the journal publishes the articles on your particular topic. And also you can get more information because the aims and scope section may not be very specific. It may have been written years ago, that may not be very detailed and all. To get more detailed information, what you can do is you can check the archives of the journal, at least some of the past 5-6 issues you can check to see whether the like journal because the whether the current editor, the current editorial team prefers, likes to publish the kind of article that you have with you. So if you check the recent issues from the journal, like if similar articles, there is one like a catch here. Suppose in the immediate previous issue they have published an article, so it is unlikely that they may want to publish a similar article anytime soon. But maybe 5-6 issues ago they have published an article, then it is more likely that they may be interested in a similar article once again. So all these kind of judgments you have to show there. Also, when you are at the journal website, there are also various other important points to which you should pay attention. For example, like whether that particular journal publishes the kind of the type of article that you have with you. For example, many journals do not publish full-length case reports. Many journals publish case reports only as letters to editor. But what you have is a full-length case report with so many figures and tables and all. Then, like you should better consider another journal that publishes full-length case reports. Many people may want to publish book reviews, but lots of journals do not consider book reviews. Many people may want to publish research protocols, but again, many journals do not consider that particular article type. So based on this, you have to make a decision. So before you submit, before you edit your article in accordance with the particular journal's suggestions, reference system and all, you check and ensure that that journal considers this particular article kind. Now, likewise, you have to also pay attention to word count. Suppose your research paper is of 7,000 words. Many journals say like it should be within 4,000 words or 5,000 words, things like that. So you have two options. Either you cut down, if it is possible, cut down your article to that particular word count limit, or you consider another journal that allows this many number of words. Likewise, for the number of tables and figures, many journals say that they will allow only up to 4 tables or 6 tables, things like that. But if it is absolutely essential that your article should contain 10 tables, then obviously the only option available for you is to look for another appropriate journal that allows this many number of tables and figures. Now, some of you may feel that there are some huge tables which cannot be published in the print issue of the journal. So, like you can see whether that journal is ready to publish this type of data as a supplementary file. For example, you have to publish a data file, you would like to publish a video, things like that. So you check whether this particular journal allows, they have the option for publishing online only supplementary files. You have to ensure that you are submitting your article to a peer reviewed journal, because obviously there are, of course, there are many journals that are not peer reviewed, but again they may not be of very good quality or good stature, and the journal will not give you an opportunity to improve your article. So obviously always you should go for an article for a journal that is peer reviewed. Even there are some points to consider, whether it is open or closed peer review. Especially in the past some years, many journals, many online journals have started publishing like peer reviews along with the article. So that is called an open peer review system. So you should be asking yourself, will it be okay for me if the readers of my article also get to read what kind of faults my reviewers found with me, what all corrections I had to make before I made it to the print and things like that. If you are okay for that, wonderful, you go for a journal that has open peer review. Otherwise, for you it may be better to go for a closed peer review journal. In another video we will in detail discuss what are the kinds of peer review, how to deal with peer reviewers and all, and also the stature of reviewers, because most of the journals in their website they may have listed their editorial board, their reviewers and all, or maybe in the first issue of the year many journals publish the list of people who did peer review for them in the previous year. So you can have a look at that. What are the kind of reviewers they have? They are like people who have published lots and lots of articles in your field. So do you feel that the article that you have will stand up to the scrutiny by people like that? If yes, wonderful, you go and submit there. Otherwise, maybe like you may prefer to like submit to a lesser like another journal that have that has less stringent reviewers. So otherwise maybe they will take 1 or 2 months in reviewing your article and rejecting, and again you will have to start afresh. A lot of time will be lost there. You can also check the rejection rate. Suppose the journal says that in the past year it has rejected 95% of the articles submitted to them. So think for yourself whether your article is of such a good quality, or whether it matches the quality of the articles that are already published in that journal. And you also remember that actually most of the journals are growing journals, so the threshold for acceptance may be gradually increasing. So even if now you see that a similar article has been published after 6 months, 1 year, by the time your article revision everything review everything is over, they may have decided that or whatever articles are published now, they may have ended peer review a year ago. So that time what criteria they had, by now they may have like decided to upgrade because they have so many issues, so many articles waiting publication, a huge backlog, etc, etc. So this factor also you have to consider. That is about the rejection rate. So if you feel that your article is not of that great quality, then you go for another journal that has a smaller rejection rate. Whether publication fees are charged, publication fees are not anything bad per se, but you should see whether you are in a position to pay the kind of fees the journal is asking for. And also in some journals there is an option, if you are from a developing country like India, like some journals waive the submission fee. So you check whether such an option is there, and if whether you can avail that. Now especially like most of the authors are in a hurry, like they don't have 1 year 2 years to wait before the editor gives you a decision, because you have to attend your PhD viva, you have to attend write your exam. Before that you have to have this many publications, and also most of you will be in a hurry. So you have to ensure that this particular journal is likely to finish the peer review process and give you a decision within at least a minimum span of time. So how to get an idea about that? Again, you can check the journal website. They may have mentioned that we take 2 months, 3 months, 4 months for the peer review. So based on that, you may be able to reach some conclusions, but that may not be true for your article. Like there may be a huge range. How much time the peer review takes, that is not fully within the hands of the journal or the editor. It depends a lot on the peer reviewers to whom the article is assigned. The initial set of reviewers may not respond, then the editor may have to give it to another set of reviewers. So it may not be fully within their hand. That is one thing. Also the frequency of the publication. For example, suppose one a journal is published only once in 6 months, so it is like more likely that even if your article is accepted, it may come in print after a more delayed period. On the other hand, suppose an article is a journal is published on a monthly basis or once in 2 months, then it is more likely that your article after acceptance will appear in an issue earlier. So this factor also you have to consider. Then the turnaround time, like earlier I told you to check the journal website for how much time the peer review takes, they claim. But like to get a more real picture, what you can do is you can check the timeline that is published in some of the recently published articles in that particular journal, like the date of submission, date of acceptance, date of online publication. All this will be there. Don't check only one article, because again there is a huge variation. Many a time articles can get delayed because of the authors themselves. They may take lots and lot of time to submit a revision and all. So you check many articles recently published, then from that you can get a rough idea about how fast the editorial team, the publisher, the reviewers, etc. work. So that is about the turnaround time part. Then also many journals have the option of online first or maybe ahead of print publishing. Many journals call this different names. So what that means is it's not necessary that your article has to be included in an issue after acceptance and after pagination, PDF creation, everything. Many journals publish it online only after like it is included in an issue. But again, if the journal has a huge backlog, it may take even years before your article gets included in an issue and appear in a print issue or even in the online issue. But many good journals, what they do is once your article is accepted, once the designing is done, when you have approved the PDF draft, then they publish it online as online first or AOP, ahead of print publishing. And maybe after months or years it may be included in an issue, but that doesn't matter much for your practical purposes. Once it is published online, it is published. So you prefer journals that have this particular habit of publishing articles online once they are ready. Now you have to also pay attention to the prestige of that particular journal. How to determine whether like this is a prestigious journal or not? There are various factors to consider. You check like who is the owner of this particular journal, whether it is owned by any renowned professional organization in your specialty, or whether it is owned by any major publisher. All those journals you should give a preference to. Who are the members of the editorial board? Whether they are known names in your field, very well established researchers from your specialty. It is better if you prefer journals like that, because if you publish in those journals, your stature also improves. Who is the publisher? This is very important these days, because there are loads of new publishers, the loads of so-called predatory publishers and all. So it is better to go for some publishers of repute. Otherwise, like when your students years later find out that you published your major paper in a very like journal published by a very notorious publisher or things like that, it may not augur well for you. This is a list of some of the major international publishers. It may not be possible to get your article to a journal published by any of these publishers, but it does not harm to try. Some of them are open access publishers, some of them are not open access publishers. So if it is possible, you can choose one of these publishers. Now, obviously, impact factor is very important. Even many institutions and all, they pay attention to, though it is not very fair. We will discuss about that, about what are the various metrics, how are impact factors calculated, what are the limitations and all. Maybe in some other video we will discuss. For the time being, what I would like to remind you is that before submitting to a journal, you should obviously consider whether the journal has an impact factor or whether it is likely to get an impact factor soon, and what is the impact factor and all. But again, there is a lot of foul play going around. There are lots of what is called fake impact factors, which are not very authentic. So basically, the most authentic, what you mean by impact factor, when some important researcher talks about impact factor, the person means like impact factor provided by Clarivate Analytics. So they have a list every year, maybe by June they provide a list. This is the impact factor for this particular journal for the previous year. One issue is that the list is not free. You have to be a paid member, only then you can get the list. So basically you have to depend on the journal's claim, what the journal claim in its website, what is its impact factor, and maybe like some journals you may even lie in this regard. So that is one issue. Now to give you some broad idea about what kind of numbers to expect. These are the numbers from 2018, numbers for 2018, not the 2019 figures. Like from the field of medicine, the journal with the highest impact factor is CA, a cancer journal for clinician. It has an impact factor of more than 223. That is a like outlier kind of a journal. Now, like behind that, we have the renowned journals like Lancet that has 70, then sorry, it is NEJM, New England Journal of Medicine that has 70, Lancet that has nearly 60 and all. So you can see like even the best journals, these are the kind of numbers that they have. If you come further down, even some of the renowned medical journals from India, this is Indian Journal of Dermatology, Venereology and Leprology, they have about 3. Neurology India has about 2.7. So like why I am telling you this, some journals may claim that they have an impact factor of 300, things like that. So you should take that with a pinch of salt only, because these are the kind of numbers that you can usually expect. So if somebody gives you a huge number, you should be suspicious. You should also remember that like the impact factor depends on the specialty also. Like we saw some sample numbers for the field of medicine. In some specialties, the overall the impact factor of the journals may be high, but on the other hand, in some specialties may be overall low, because there is a lot of variations between specialties. For example, in some specialties, the references may appear very fast. Once an article is published, the citations to that particular article may start appearing within months, while in some other specialties may take a lot of time. Also, in some specialties, journals may carry a huge list of references, while in some other fields, it may be only like 5-6 references like that. So what I'm saying is, you cannot compare the impact factor of a journal in say sociology with the impact factor of a journal in say mathematics. You cannot compare that because of the reasons that I told you now. We already saw some sample impact factors from the field of medicine. If we go to the field of psychology, you can see that some of the best journals, the Psychological Inquiry, that has an impact factor of 26. And if you come down, even some of the very good journals, British Journal of Clinical Psychology, only 2.6. Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology, 4.54. That is not a fault of the journal, but as I told you, like there is a lot of variation between specialties. So you should, you are checking the impact factor of one of the journals in your specialty. You also see like to get the magnitude of that, you compare that with the impact factor of some other, especially some of the most renowned journals in your field also. Now this is another very good tool to see like various metrics, various information, a lot of information about the journals that you have in mind. Scimago journal and country rank. The link is given here and also in the description in the below this particular video. What you can do here is you can search it with the name of any journal that you would like to. For example, here I am doing a search for Indian Journal of Ophthalmology. So like once you click, you get the list, only this journal is there. So you click on that, so you get to the journals page. They have the H index given there. We will talk about that later. The publisher, ISSN, the scope about which we were talking, the home page link, then to which quartile. We will discuss all this later. The journal have belonged in the past so many years, citations per document. So for all these terms, what you can do is if you click this particular plus sign, so this arrow will appear and you can see like for the what it means, and the graph will turn into the actual values. You can see the proper digits itself, citations per document. Again, if you click on that plus, you can see the actual values that are used in this particular graph. Then that their SJR score, the total number of citations, how many external citations per document, how many citable documents were published, how many documents were cited. All this kind of information you can get for that particular journal. Very useful information, especially before submitting. You should check this particular data for your journal. There is also an option to compare various journals. Up to 6 journals you can compare if you enter the journal name here and click the compare button. That is also a very useful tool. They also have the journal rankings, because in your particular area, what is the relative ranking of various journals, what is the score, SJR and other scores this particular the various journals in your specialty have. Even that you can see by going to this journal rankings link over there. If you click that, like then you can, there are lots of options, lot of various screening filters that you can use. You can select your subject area. For example, here I am doing a selection for dentistry. So if I select that, then I get a list of journals from the field of dentistry along with the various numbers for all these journals. Then I can further refine the list by going to the subject for making it more specific. I am choosing it the periodontics here, more of a super specialty I am choosing. If I do that, then I again get I get the list of journals from that particular subfield. Again, I can choose. Earlier we told about the geographic location and all. Suppose I want a journal from Asia, then again if I choose that, again I get a list of periodontics journals from Asia like that. Then I can choose to see only open access journals. If I click that, they give a list of open access journals only. All these ads, they were not there till last year, only this year they introduced that. So these are the open access journals. Then if you want to get only those journals which are there in Web of Science, you can click that particular button. Again they give you a fresh list of such journals. So a lot of useful information you can get. How many citations have been there to that journal, all this information you can get from. So this you can use to like study the important journals or the journals that to which you intend to submit. All this can be done there. Now this is another important source. It is from Elsevier, Scopus. It is now called sources. So here basically you have something called site score. Again, that is something like impact factor only. We will see the discuss the differences in a future presentation. So like again, this journal in the site score also, this tops the list. So you can get the list in the decreasing order of site score if you go to their website. And also you can search there. There are lots of options. You can search by title or publisher, ISSN, things, subject area. And you can also use various filters like which percentile your journal should be. You want to search for book series or journals, things like that. And also now I am going to search for a sample journal here, current microbiology I am searching. So it gives you a list of journals because this current and microbiology, the terms are there in the names of various journals. So I got the current microbiology there. I am clicking that. I am going to the Scopus source page of that particular journal. So here we have a lot of information. The site score is given there, and also this site score tracker. Again, I will come to that. That is also a very useful feature because impact factor and all, I told you already that it is available only by June. With impact factor for 2020, you can come to know only by 2021 June. However, site score, what they have one useful feature, it is a site score tracker. So if you see, you can see here till it is updated every 2 months. So till for now, if you check till October, what is the site score for that particular journal for this year? That information you can get. So that is much more recent updated information compared to impact factor. So you can also see other information like SJR ranking, which we just now discussed, that you can see here. SNP is another metric. All this information you can see in this particular page source from Scopus, which is from Elsevier. Now Cabells has a similar tool called Journalytics. But again, that is not a free tool. You have to pay them to get access to that particular tool. The link is given there. This is one of their sample results page for a journal called Behavioral Ecology. They have one metric of their own, Cabell's classification index. They also like have another useful feature here. They give what is the difficulty of acceptance, 85%, 48%, all this information they give you. So again, if you have paid access to this particular tool, you can use that one also. So all of us will prefer to have our articles published in a journal that has a high impact factor, high site score, high SJR and all. Wonderful. But the problem is that, as you have already guessed, those journals that have a huge score, they also have huge rejection rate. So your article has to be that good to get accepted into journals with high scores. So you have to make an guess like what kind of scores I can aim for, things like that, and choose your journals accordingly. Because if you decide to submit your article to Nature, Science and all, maybe you may lose some weeks or months in rejection, and it may also upset you. So it is better to avoid that. Now coming to indexing, like you have to check whether your the journal to which you plan to submit is indexed in some of the major indexes. This is a brief list: Scopus, Web of Science. Again, it is from Clarivate, the company that gives impact factor, and also PubMed. PubMed, you should remember that this is not an indexing agency. You can say that the journal is included in PubMed. Again, we will have another detailed presentation on how to search PubMed. There we will have a discussion about more finer details. Here I would like to just remind you that the Medline is the actual indexing agency. So that takes only the journals of the highest repute. They have very strict selection criteria for a journal to be included in Medline. All the Medline journals, articles published in all Medline journals will be there in PubMed. But PubMed is not equivalent to Medline, as you can see from this graph. These sizes are do not mean anything. They're only for convenience. They do not mean, like, for example, the number of journals and things like that. The PubMed encompasses all the journals indexed in Medline, but it has many more than that. For example, all the journals that are included in the PubMed Central. PubMed Central is a website where many journals that meet the quality selection criteria of PubMed Central can deposit their articles. So all those articles will appear in PubMed. At the same time, not all articles published in PMC journals, some article types are excluded, are not included in PubMed. That is why these are not like the equivalent. Some PMC journal articles are not there in PubMed. So PubMed has also, outside of PMC and Medline, for example, any articles published by researchers who are sponsored by NIH, etc., etc. So this distinction you should have in mind. You can. It is wonderful if you can make it into a journal that is indexed in Medline. But especially if you are a biomedical researcher, better make sure that the journal to which you plan to submit is there in PubMed, because most of the researchers or practitioners turn to PubMed first when they want information. So if your article is there, like, it will be used by them, cited by them and all. Now, like Clarivate, I already told you about them, the Web of Science. They are the company who gives impact factor. So they have various indexes. The two important ones are this SCIE and ESCI. Again, to get an impact factor, like the journal has to get into SCIE first, Science Citation Index Expanded. So for that, the journal has to meet quality criteria and also impact criteria. That particular journal, the articles they published should be getting sufficient number of citations. Only then that journal can go into this SCIE. There are also various other similar databases. For social science, they have SSCI. For arts and humanities, they have AHCI and all. So again, immediately after getting into these indexes, the journal does not get an impact factor. After entry also, for example, this list is published by about January, December and all, and as I told you, the impact factor is assessed by March and published by about June. So at least that lag is there. Even otherwise, even if a journal is in this index but they do not have sufficient impact, they may not get an impact factor. But the other journals which are doing well, they meet the quality criteria but they do not have sufficient impact yet. They are put in this ESCI, Emerging Science Citation Index. Now after that, after being in ESCI, once the journal develops sufficient citations, then they are the Clarivate reviews the journal and includes in the SCIE. But again, these are not like a fixed positions. That is, there will be an ongoing review. Suppose a journal in one of these indexes lose impact, they can go back to ESCI, or if they lose quality also, they can be thrown out of the list. They will not be in the Web of Science. So like suppose when you were starting your PhD, you checked and saw that one journal is there in SCIE. But now 3-4 years later, when you want to submit your article, you should check again, because that journal may have been thrown out of the index because of loss of impact and loss of quality. So these kind of points you should pay attention.